I'm Pascal from Orangepixel and welcome to another video. This week was a bit of a brain draining week for me as I dove into Regulated City. Last week I talked about how ST streamer checked out my game and gave me a lot of feedback from a fresh perspective of a player that hasn't played it before, doesn't really know what's happening and going on, and diving into the game, and a lot of things needed improving. So this last week, a little bit more than a week, I've been just diving into code and debugging code. And for those that are not developers, I'll talk a little bit about what debugging is. Just very generic, quick lesson into debugging. Also for the guy in the back, I know you're just looking like, well, even more crazy than usual, but I'm gonna explain it to you. So stay calm. Right, and I also show you a bunch of the things that I changed. I had a lot of developers, I think mostly developers, asking me what did he say in that video, what did ST say in the video, what did he mention, all those stuff. Can you tell us? His video is like 2 hours long. I could probably trim that all down to 30 minutes, but that's still way too long. So I'm gonna just talk about the things that eventually ended up changing and that I'm still working on. So I think that's a great middle ground of explaining things, and it also allows me to have this video. Else I didn't really have a topic for this week's video. All right, intro. A quick view of what debugging is. If you're a game developer, please ignore this. I'm not diving into the details of stuff. I'm just giving a global understanding of what it is for those that are not game developers. So let's see. We need a little example. Let's go into headquarters. Over here. I don't want that. All right, I know. There's a dispenser device a little over here. Let me see. Yeah, that green thing over here is a dispenser. Now we have code for that right here. I already searched for this. Pretty much, if you're a game developer, the code for your game is up there. You know where certain things are happening, and you know how to quickly find stuff. Over time that fades away, but a lot of my games have the same build up, so it's often that I can still look up games that are a decade old and find certain pieces of code. This is the dispenser. What I want to do is have a debug right here if we're hitting the player. All right, hang on over here. If we are hitting the player and we're not moving from a recent encounter with the player, then we're going to show a text message. Now, this red line is a debug line. I can do everything in this game. Nothing will happen until that part of the code gets run. So let's move over to the dispenser and hit it. And with hitting, I mean collision, like we're in its vicinity. We're not hitting it or anything. As you can see now, we're here. The code stopped, the game stopped moving, and we can now go through line by line. So we can do add text message being done here. We could jump into that to see if it's the right message. We have an instruction button, so a little button pops up for the player. It will happen over there. The game is frozen right now, and I can just step through things and see if everything does what it should be. And I can check all these values. Is the player pressing the enter button, which is in this case an action button. Names are just doesn't mean much, but you get the point. Now nothing is happening because I'm actually debugging, so the player isn't doing those stuff. So the player isn't doing those things. Let's put a debug point over here. Let's remove that one and continue the whole game with the button to continue. Now the debug point is moved, so we're now having that message. So we're now showing that message and that button, as I just told you. The next debug point is when we're actually interacting with it. So if I press this button, the game freezes again, and we are in this part of the code, and now we can check if everything is correct or not. Now there's no problem here, there's no bug here, but this is pretty much how I've been playing my game the whole week. Stepping through lines of code, checking things, and there were a lot of things that actually did have problems in there. So I had to check values and have to see if they were changing, and sometimes they would be good and sometimes they would be accurate, sometimes they wouldn't be accurate. It's a miracle I haven't turned more crazy than I already was. But this is pretty much debugging. You can do that for everything you see on screen here, and in my game I have a couple of things And in my game I have a couple of things to help me out, like these trigger nodes. Everything that makes a noise triggers. You can see purple thing happening. Interaction with enemies. I have these things in the game, so I don't have to step through the code every time. But I can also check things just in the game. And these are nodes that allow the squad to move around and know where they can hide and run to. And there's just a lot more. There's danger stuff. I'll need an enemy for that. I can actually spawn an enemy. Let me see. Arcade enemies are monster other file. Enemies are number 7, so I can create monster 7, and we now have an enemy over here. I can check if he does his thing, and you see the red dots he created. Those are danger areas, so my squad knows it's dangerous over there, and you better get out, because if you step in those things, it's a very good chance that the enemy spots you and interacts with you or starts shooting at you. And there's just a lot of stuff happening and a lot of code that you have to step through. And that's what I've been doing this week. So let's look at a little bit of the results of the changes I made and the interesting things. Because yeah, done enough with the code now. And I have a whole list over here. I'm using Trello, and I have a couple of things highlighting for this video. But this has mostly been a bunch of changes and fixes and a lot of jumping through code. So let's pick up some of these devlog update items and talk about those changes. Now, some of these changes, or a lot of these changes, are the early phase of the game and also very tiny and small. And it might sound crazy that I've been spending time on this, although these little changes haven't taken up that much time. But just this one, the title screen even, go back. The settings option used to be on the bottom right corner. If you watch it right over here, about there, and that's great. But if you're playing this on Steam, there's always a Steam overlay. So by the time you press the button to start the game, you probably didn't notice the settings. Also notice when ST was playing or streamers, they might have stuff covering those corners. Right now it's much more clear. H start, Y to get into the settings. So yeah, minor changes, but I think those were interesting to do. Let's reset animation and tutorial, because I want to get into the tutorial first. Start the game. Other change I made over here, the locked characters didn't have this lock on them. They were just also grayed out, and then when you moved onto them, they would show you they were locked. That works, but this is much more clearer. It also gives the player an incentive to understand that there is a way to unlock more characters. And probably I'm gonna be locking Wrecking Ball as well as a main character. You have to unlock him somehow. I don't know yet how, but you probably have to unlock him because he's such a great character to play with. I don't want you to have it from the start. I want you to really work for it. It's worth it. So there's probably going to be 1 or 2 characters unlocked when you start the game, and then you have to unlock the others. I might move them around a little bit, but right now I don't know which character will be unlocked and which one won't. So let's dive into this. A quick animation hasn't changed, the sound effects, all that stuff. Let's skip that one. This is your base now. I changed the titles and names so that it's more clear what this is. It wasn't really clear, and it just showed mission 1 of 2 at the top, and then HQ at the bottom. Now this is more clear. This is regulator HQ. This is your base. Enter. You can do all this. You can skip. This was pretty clear, I think. Talk to him or not. Most players won't read, but let's ignore that. Go to the mission computer. This might be something that needs a little bit more. The green arrow is there. I think people or players will figure out, but I'm also okay if they start wandering around. The base isn't done. I still need to find more purpose for it, but you can run around here, and you have this dispenser already telling you that there can be energy drinks found here. I had this peach bubble. I wasn't there, so you didn't notice it was doing something. Now it is. We have these DNA enhancement pods. There will always be one in your base. It will tell you that there is some sort of enhancement going on, and you will find them around in different levels. A power generator. You can turn off the power in HQ. It doesn't do anything, but it does teach you that this is an option. And there will probably be a pop-up or a message telling you we should have night vision goggles or something if you don't have them. So let's turn back on the power, because else the doors aren't working. And let's move over to the tutorial level. This was already there. the controls, the commands. One problem I noticed when Esti was playing, and there was too much stuff happening. In a normal level, these garage doors, 2 out of the 4 probably will open up and spawn enemies, which is great. That's still in the game, but it shouldn't happen in the tutorial level. You're still trying to get to grips with the controls and things, and then you don't want stuff happening yet. So I removed that. There's no spawns over there. This box has more text, and the button to press it is now shown in the box. It was just floating around your player a little bit, which also wasn't very clear. Now it's inside that box. Press Y to swap weapons, and of course if you're playing with keyboard, let me see if I can play with the keyboard. Oh, I'm typing somewhere on a different screen. Let me quickly, right. Playing with the keyboard, and I hope I'm not chatting on Discord right now, because I was trying to do this. It changes to the right buttons. So it still needs a little bit of tweaking here and there, but right now it works. I'm thinking about maybe removing some of the squad members in this tutorial, or maybe just you go in alone, so that you get used to having those squad members and it gets a little bit of an extra explanation somewhere. Another thing that was going wrong was these crates would have level up type items or pickups in them. So you could have an actual level up event happening, even though you still were trying to figure out how to do this sneaking. All of that stuff is removed now. Let's sneak up on this guy, take him out, and this is much more clear, and then we'll get into the game. There's still some stuff that needs tweaking, can be done better. Now we have a little enemy over here. We can still sneak up on him or just bash him, and there we go with the level up. Shouldn't happen. I'm gonna remove this from the tutorial. It's great that it happens because you get extra items, but you're still trying to figure out what's happening in the game. It's still confusing to new players. I know what's happening. New players have no idea what's happening, and there's enemy coming at them. Then there's a level up box coming. Things like that. I've been somewhat blind for it, but I'm fixing them in the game, and it's getting better. So let's quickly do this one. This was also a remark. What happens? I'm checking this meteorite, and then I'm back in HQ. There will be a little animation there, probably taking a sample of the meteorite, and maybe some ooze grabbing your hand, because you actually have ooze power. So that animation might explain some of those things. That's gonna happen. That's just something I have to add. We can talk to him and he will blah blah himself again. But, let's just move to the city. This has now changed. Explained. Regulator HQ is at the top if you're there, and here it shows city block 1 of 2, completed missions 0 of 3. It would show you the missions at the top and then completed at the bottom. But this is actually a city block with multiple missions, so you need to complete that block by completing different missions. So I think this makes it more clear. Also get out a little F for a second. One tiny thing I changed as well. Let's take this. Generating this little screen, generating the city. This was loading or something. Generating the city kind of also communicates to the player the city that you're about to play is being generated for you. This is your unique city. This is your game. If you play another game, it's going to be a different city. I hope it communicates that to the player at least. So that's one of the things I've also been adding and changing. The danger and safe meter at the bottom, still not really happy with that. It's much clearer there than it was at the bottom right corner, for the same reason as the Y for settings in menu wasn't really clear. I think it's clearer there, but it still needs a little work. It changed to safe and then it fades out, and when you're back in danger or in dangerous area, it will slowly appear, or it will appear again and start ticking up again. It needs work. I have to figure out a couple of other games that have stopped, and I'll need to just check a few other games that have stuff like that happening. Yeah, if you have great ideas for that, let me know. I need to somehow tell the player you're now in danger and stealth is out of the window. You better either hide and wait for the danger meter to deplete again, and then you're safe and you can do stealthy stuff again, or grab your gun and go in guns blazing. One of those things. The level up system, I might completely ditch it for this game, or how this works. I might go back to the original idea I had of some sort of merchant or other figures or NPCs dashed around the levels, where you can just trade your money or stolen money or grab loot or whatever and just trade it for certain items on their list. I think that's gonna be a better system for this game. I haven't decided fully yet. I'm gonna see if I'll have to try it and see if it's better or not. Let's dive into a level. Let's see what I have to do. Oh, right. Well, right now I have to make sure I stay alive. Right. Let's take out these guys for a bit. Just a mission. I should. Oh wait. Yeah. Right. These devices we have. Dishwashers. We have. Washing machines. We have this. You can now. Well, you could already activate them, but it wasn't really clear what was happening. Now they have a little information box, and I've been adding them to a bunch of items and stuff in the game. Just to make everything more clear. It looks great, and I like how the orange looks. The orange, this used to be lime green, if you might remember all the videos, or just a couple of weeks ago. Lime green, but every time, or I had various people commenting that it was Xbox green. I guess it sort of was, but that wasn't really the goal. It was just, I loved the color, and that's why I used lime green, but because everybody was just linking that to Xbox, I changed it. I just also, because if you're playing with a keyboard, the X in lime green always made you think you had to press the X button on your Xbox controller. Now it's the key X, and I just changed the color. It's a very tiny change, but everybody was mentioning that it had to be Xbox or something, but it wasn't. It was any type of controller, even keyboard. So anyway, noise devices, you could activate them and could disable them again, but now they actually have a certain time that they are operating. So now I turn it on. This will lure enemies that are nearby, but I think I killed most of them. And after a couple of seconds, it will automatically stop. That's just a lot better. People would activate it and leave it playing, and that doesn't really have a function. You want to do a quick activation, see if enemies are coming towards you. If they are, the other rooms are clear. So it will disable itself after a few seconds, but I also have time ticking, so I need to head over here. And right, there we have a couple of enemies that are working towards the sound. Grenades, this was a weapon, now it's actually an item for your inventory, because you're going to throw one grenade and not going to keep shooting them constantly. So let's, here we have a dishwasher that can also make sound. Let's make noise, and then we'll probably have some enemies coming in to check for that noise. This is a great way to lure enemies to your vicinity, or maybe activate it and then sneak around them, depending on the level. Security cameras have been are still being improved, but they are now, let me just trigger it. Hi, I'm here, and there we have alarms. Everything goes red, and enemies will be spawning left and right, and you want to get out of there before you, well, there we have a couple of ropes, enemies dropping in. And the danger bar is full, and if you get rid of these guys, you can deplete that danger bar again and go back into stealth mode until you walk into another alarm. As you might notice, this red arrow over here, that's one of those things that need changing. The arrow is an indication that that's a target for you to take out, but you don't see anything there, so it's confusing. That enemy shouldn't be showing its arrow or whatever, as long as it's not in an uncovered part of the level. It's minor things like this, but it's a lot of confusion, trying to take away confusion for the player. That's pretty much what I've been doing all week. And it's hard as a developer to see all those things, because it's not confusing to me what's happening. I know what's happening, I even know why enemies are doing something, I know when they will do a certain thing, how I can actually cheat them into moving to certain spots that they shouldn't be moving towards. So for me, nothing is going to be surprising or confusing, but for new players, you want to make sure those things are not confusing ever, or not too many things are too confusing at the start of a game, because they will most likely ditch your game and pretty much try another game. I think a large part of, see, this is still a bug, this thing should be disabled by now. Oh, this thing is disabled, but the speaker isn't. See, that's another thing I should dive into. Fix that speaker. And exit the level. Mission results, still a screen that the things shown here don't really have a lot of purpose yet. Stealth time is completely wrong. I honestly have no idea how to calculate that. I will have to figure it out. Right now it just calculates the amount of time you did for a level, and then the amount of time you had in stealth mode and the amount of time you had in danger mode, and somehow calculates a percentage. But that's not accurate, because you could pretty much stand still for a long time in the level and that would help your stealth time, and then just go guns blazing, shoot everything, kill everything, and you would still have like a 90% stealth time. So it's very cheatable, it's very silly, and we'll have to change it. I might make it based on your interaction with enemies. If you take out an enemy without him noticing you at all, that's good, and if he does notice you, it's actually a little bit less stealth. I think I'll have to do something like that. Besides that, it doesn't do much except tell you what happens. You had a couple of takedowns, breaking people's neck, stabbing them. You had 1 or 2 headshots. Yeah, it's a screen. It still needs work, but it's there. Did I have more on my list to talk about? I had show settings more prominent. I talked about that. Made more apparent which characters are still locked. Talked about that. Removing distractions. We talked about that. Dialogue action buttons. Talked about that. Improved enemy response to danger. Right. Let me give myself a grenade. I think I have a grenade. I have a grenade. So these guys, the enemy right over here at the fire hose, they wouldn't be running away for dangerous things. Now, oh, I shouldn't be throwing it at myself. Now they do run away for dangerous things if they can. A lot better. And I got killed. I got killed. Now they actually walk away. Also, if they throw a bomb themselves, some of them will have a bomb. If they throw it, they will be running away. They didn't. Weirdly, I set that all up for them to be scared of certain things, but then they would never check if those things were happening. It was a bug, but it's now fixed and it's a lot more fun. I might actually make the grenades lure the enemies instead of make them scared, so that they will actually run towards the grenade to see what's happening. That's a lot more fun to watch, and it makes the grenades much more usable. Right now, if you throw a grenade into a group, the group will actually run away and you won't be killing them. So that I think it's gonna be more fun if they maybe randomly, but most of the time, walk towards a grenade. So I've been doing that. Generating the city, talked about that. Security alarm lights, talked about that. And yeah, it doesn't sound like a huge amount of things, but especially I've also been working on the squad AI and the enemy AI, and that code took a lot of time. It's not as simple as some of the things I talked about. And they're still not perfect. There's still certain things happening that shouldn't be happening. Let me quickly, one more thing, level editor. Let's load up a level with that one, and let's go into intelligence gathering. So let me go over here. There should be some intelligence gathering over here. Level up, always good. Machine gun, I like machine guns. And a wrench. Right, the camera now zooms to that desk, showing you that there's something there. This still needs a little bit of perfection. I also had one zooming to that object of interest and then showing you text, but that was already confusing me, so it's going to be confusing to new players. Now you actually see something happening and a spark underneath, and for some reason it's gone. I've been tinkering with this code since yesterday. I might have actually switched something off or broke something again. Oh, the joy of game development. I should be able to. We already somehow. Wait, I'm gonna watch this back on camera. I haven't recorded now, and as if somebody already triggered that. What happened there? All right. See, confusing things like, if it's confusing me, it should really be confusing to new players. We're gonna look into this. I want to try that again. Let's go over here. Let's break this door. Camera pans over there. And then what? Did that guy just move over there? Now it's not there. I'm gonna watch this back. This should have been happening just previously, but somehow we already had it. Gather intelligence. There's some... It's still buggy at times, but we'll get there. So gather intelligence data. This is now more smoothly as it was. Sometimes you would have to press like 3 or 4 times to get your squad there. Also thinking about changing that. At first your teammates will not have these skills and you will have to do it all yourself. This will make it a lot clearer to the player, and then you can assign those skills to the squad. And I think that's going to be also much more clearer to the player, and not everything is happening automatically, but you'll grow into the game as you play. So I'm going to try that. At first you'll have to do these things yourself, then you somehow unlock these skills for your squad members and they will be able to do it, and they will grow and be better and more useful. There's still a lot of things I want to change on the game, and luckily I still have that time to do that. And that's pretty much the stuff I've been working on this week, and how I'm trying to get Regulated City to a certain version that's fit for gamers. My main goal for now, I've been pushing new demos every now and then. This is going to be demo 0046. My main goal is that I'm gonna try to connect with streamers once this demo is out. So I want to have a demo that's really close to very player friendly and very friendly to new players, getting them, onboarding them into the game. And that's what this demo is going to be about. It's going to be the main focus for it. And once that's out, I'll try to contact streamers. I've been trying to get my game into a bunch of online events. There are many, but so far most of those events said no to my game. This happens to most developers. I already noticed a few things. I'm in a couple of Discords that have a lot of developers trying all these events. Most of them don't get in. The games that do get in are usually the same couple of games. So that's pretty much as with everything. Once you get to a certain level, or your game at a certain level that it gets exposure, you'll get a lot more exposure. But getting to that first couple of exposure events or things, that takes a lot of time, and it takes quality of your game, and it takes a lot of work in marketing and all those things. It's very hard to get to that point, but once you get there, you should be getting a lot more attention, which is a good thing. It's just a very large struggle for a lot of game developers, smaller game developers like me. I don't have a marketing team working on stuff constantly. I can't afford that. I can afford a couple of marketing things now thanks to the investors, but I want to save those for later when the game is close to release, and properly do marketing, press outreach and streamer outreach at that point. Up until that point, I'm going to do a lot of these things myself. Reach out to streamers, see if they want to play the game, give it a little try and all those things. And we'll slowly and gradually build up a following and community around the game, and wishlist, very important, more and more wishlist, so that that game has this little boost when it launches on Steam. So yeah, that's it for this week's video. Hope it was interesting to see all these things and hear all about these things. If you have questions, drop them in the comments. Come hang out on the Discord and talk about these things. And I'll see you next week. You'll see me next week. I will look at the lens next week again. So thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, comment below, all that stuff. Later.